Have you ever considered that the creatures crawling through your garden or resting on your windowsill might actually be carrying heaven's message? That God uses even the tiniest animals as instruments of His will, some bringing blessings while others arrive as gentle warnings for our spiritual journey. This is a reality that escapes most people, yet Padre Pio understood it with remarkable depth. In one of his most powerful reflections on creation, the stigmatized saint revealed truths about certain animals that challenge everything we thought we knew about our relationship with the natural world. Brothers and sisters, we share this earth with millions of creatures. Most of the time, we barely notice them. When we do, our instinct is often to eliminate them, especially when they enter our sacred spaces, our homes, our places of peace. But Padre Pio saw what we fail to see. He recognized that God speaks through all of creation and that some of these small beings deserve not just our tolerance, but our protection. Think about this for a moment. A man who experienced visions of Christ, who carried the 5 wounds for 50 years, who could smell the spiritual state of souls. This same man took time to teach his spiritual children about protecting certain animals. Why would he do that unless it carried profound importance? If these words are already touching something deep within you, pause right now and write in the comments, Padre Pio, help me honor all of God's creation. Your comment becomes a prayer that reaches others. Today, I'm going to share with you the 4 specific animals that Padre Pio revealed Christians must never kill. These aren't exotic creatures from distant lands. They're animals you've encountered dozens, maybe hundreds of times in your own life. And after today, you'll understand why harming them could mean rejecting graces God intended for you. Please stay with me through this entire revelation. Each animal unlocks a different aspect of spiritual truth, and missing even one means losing part of the complete picture Padre Pio wanted us to grasp. The connections between these creatures and our faith will astonish you. Now let's discover the first animal on this sacred list. I can already sense your surprise. The spider, that 8-legged creature that makes so many people uncomfortable. The one we instinctively crush the moment it appears in our bathroom or bedroom. Yes, the spider holds a place of honor in Christian tradition that Padre Pio deeply respected. Let me take you back to a moment that changed how the saint viewed these creatures forever. Padre Pio was sitting in his cell at the monastery, deep in prayer, when he noticed a spider slowly weaving its web in the corner of his window. Instead of disturbing it, he watched. For nearly an hour, he observed this tiny architect creating something both functional and beautiful. When a fellow friar suggested removing it, Padre Pio raised his hand gently and said something remarkable. He explained that the spider teaches us about patience, about the sacred work of creating something meaningful thread by thread, moment by moment. But there's something even deeper here. In Christian history, the spider has served as a protector of the faithful. Ancient traditions tell us that when the Holy Family fled to Egypt, escaping Herod's murderous decree, they hid in a cave. A spider quickly spun its web across the entrance. When the soldiers arrived, they saw the undisturbed web and assumed no one could have entered recently. They moved on, and the Christ child was saved. Whether this story is literal history or sacred legend, its message remains powerful. God uses the smallest, most overlooked creatures to accomplish His greatest purposes. Padre Pio understood this intimately. He once told a spiritual daughter who complained about spiders in her home that she should thank God for them instead. These creatures, he explained, consume insects that spread disease. They work silently, asking nothing from us, protecting our homes in ways we never acknowledge. More than this, their presence reminds us of our own spiritual work. Just as the spider weaves its web with dedication and purpose, we must weave our spiritual lives through daily prayer, small acts of kindness, and persistent faith, even when no one notices. Here's what struck me most about Padre Pio's teaching on spiders. He saw them as mirrors of the contemplative soul. They wait in stillness. They work with what God gives them. They create beauty and purpose from the simplest materials. How often do we rush through our prayers, demanding immediate results? The spider reminds us that God's work unfolds slowly, deliberately, perfectly. Now I want to share something with you that might transform your entire spiritual practice. If you've been seeking to deepen your relationship with God, if the prayers you've been saying feel empty or routine, there's a resource that could reignite that sacred fire within you. We've created something special called The Power of the Rosary with Padre Pio, Miracles, Protection, and Divine Graces. This treasure will help you pray the Rosary with deeper devotion and understanding. You'll discover miraculous testimonies from those who've experienced its power firsthand. Inside, you'll find Padre Pio's most impactful teachings on prayer, along with a 30-day prayer guide with daily intentions to strengthen your faith. Plus, you'll receive special prayers for protection, healing, and liberation. The Rosary was Padre Pio's greatest weapon, and it can become yours too. Thousands have already transformed their prayer lives with this material. To download your copy, simply click the link pinned in the comments below. Now, back to our journey. If the spider teaches us about patience and hidden purpose, the second animal Padre Pio mentioned reveals something entirely different about God's tender care for his children. There's something almost magical about seeing a ladybug land on your hand or rest upon a leaf in your garden. Even people who dislike most insects seem to make an exception for this small, spotted creature. But Padre Pio saw far more than a charming beetle. He recognized the ladybug as a direct symbol of Our Lady's protection and love. The very name tells the story. In English, we call it ladybug. In many languages, its name connects directly to the Virgin Mary. This isn't coincidence. Medieval Christians noticed these small red beetles appearing in their fields just when harmful insects threatened to destroy their crops. They believed the Virgin Mary sent these creatures in answer to their prayers. The spots on the ladybug's back, often numbering 7, reminded them of Mary's 7 sorrows and 7 joys. Padre Pio had immense devotion to the Blessed Mother. His love for her permeated everything he did. He once said that if we wanted to reach Jesus, we had to go through Mary, just as anyone wanting to enter a home must first pass through the door. For him, the ladybug served as a physical reminder of Mary's constant intercession in our lives. When one of these creatures appears, it's as if Mary is whispering that she hasn't forgotten us, that her maternal protection surrounds us even in our smallest moments. A woman once visited Padre Pio in great distress. Her husband had lost his job, her children were sick, and she felt abandoned by God. As she poured out her troubles, a ladybug flew through the open window and landed directly on her shoulder. Padre Pio smiled gently and pointed to it. He told her that Our Lady had just sent her a messenger. He encouraged her not to lose hope, for Mary was interceding for her family at that very moment. The woman left with renewed faith. Within weeks, her situation began to improve in ways she couldn't have predicted. What does this mean for us today? When we see a ladybug, Padre Pio would want us to pause and acknowledge Mary's presence in our lives. More importantly, when we resist the urge to harm these creatures, we honor the Blessed Mother herself. It's such a small act, letting a ladybug be, but in that choice, we demonstrate respect for what God has designated as sacred. These spotted messengers remind us that heaven pays attention to the little things, and so should we. Consider how different our world would be if we approached each day looking for signs of divine love rather than reasons to complain. The ladybug doesn't announce itself with thunder. It arrives quietly, going about its business of protecting gardens and crops. Mary works the same way in our lives. She doesn't force herself upon us. She intercedes quietly, persistently, lovingly. Those who have eyes to see will notice her touch everywhere. Padre Pio emphasized that killing a ladybug showed disregard for this beautiful symbolism. Why would we destroy something that represents Our Lady's care? Instead, when one enters your home, gently guide it back outside. When one lands on you, take it as a moment of blessing. Speak a brief prayer to Mary, thanking her for watching over you. In these small gestures, we cultivate a heart that recognizes God's presence in every corner of creation. The ladybug also teaches us about spiritual warfare, though not in the way you might expect. These creatures protect plants by consuming aphids and other pests that would destroy them. In much the same way, Our Lady protects us from spiritual attacks that would destroy our souls. She fights battles we never see, shielding us from dangers we never knew threatened us. The ladybug's work happens quietly, often unnoticed. Mary's intercession happens the same way. As we move to the third animal on Padre Pio's list, we shift from Mary's gentle protection to something that speaks of community, hard work, and the sweetness that comes from living according to God's design. Few creatures have fascinated humanity quite like the bee. Ancient civilizations revered them. Philosophers studied their societies. Saints and mystics saw in them profound spiritual lessons. Padre Pio counted himself among those who recognized the bee as sacred, an animal that Christians should protect and learn from rather than destroy. The bee represents so much of what our faith calls us to become. Watch a hive for even a few minutes, and you'll witness something extraordinary. Every single bee knows its role. Some gather nectar, others produce wax. Guards protect the entrance. Nurses tend to the young. The queen ensures continuity. There's no chaos, no conflict over position, no jealousy over who does what. Each bee works for the good of the whole, and from this unified effort comes something miraculous: honey. That golden sweetness that nourishes and heals. Padre Pio saw in the bee a perfect model for the Christian community. He would tell those who visited him that we should be like bees in a hive, each using our God-given gifts for the benefit of everyone, not seeking personal glory, but contributing to something greater than ourselves. How different this is from our modern world, where individual achievement often matters more than collective good, where competition replaces cooperation, where we measure success by personal accumulation rather than communal flourishing. But there's something deeper still. The bee creates honey by transforming what it gathers. It takes nectar, something pleasant but fleeting, and through its internal work produces something that lasts indefinitely, that heals wounds, that sweetens life. Padre Pio saw this as a metaphor for the contemplative soul. We take in God's word, His creation, His grace. Through prayer and reflection, we transform these gifts into spiritual sweetness that can heal others and glorify God. The saint was known to keep bees near his monastery. He found peace watching them work. One summer afternoon, a young man came to confession in a state of spiritual confusion. He felt his life lacked purpose, that his prayers meant nothing, that God had forgotten him. After confession, Padre Pio took him outside to observe the bees. He asked the young man if he thought any single bee felt its work was meaningless. Every flower visited, every drop of nectar gathered, contributed to the whole. The young man's prayers, his small acts of kindness, his hidden sacrifices, they all mattered in God's grand design, even when he couldn't see the results. Here's why Padre Pio insisted we must never kill bees. Beyond their ecological importance, which is immense, these creatures embody Christian virtues we desperately need to recover. Diligence without complaint, service without recognition, community without ego, sweetness born from sacrifice. When we casually swat a bee or destroy a hive out of fear, we dismiss these lessons. We reject what God is trying to teach us through His creation. Moreover, bees sting only when threatened. They don't attack unprovoked. Their nature is peaceful, focused on creation rather than destruction. Padre Pio would remind us that we should be the same. Our words should produce sweetness, not venom. Our actions should build up, not tear down. We should defend what's sacred when necessary, but our primary mission is creating something beautiful for God's glory. The wax bees produce also held spiritual significance for Padre Pio. Church candles, made from beeswax, illuminate sacred spaces. The light they provide comes from the bees' labor. In this way, even in death, the bees' work continues to glorify God, lighting our churches, accompanying our prayers, burning before the Blessed Sacrament. Such creatures deserve our respect, our protection, our gratitude. Think about your own life for a moment. Are you contributing sweetness to those around you? Are you working diligently in your calling, even when no one notices? Are you part of a faith community where everyone supports each other? The bee challenges us to examine these questions honestly. We've now explored 3 of the 4 animals Padre Pio said Christians should never kill. Each one carries distinct lessons. The spider teaching patience and purpose, the ladybug reminding us of Mary's protection, the bee modeling community and sweetness. But the 4th animal might be the most surprising of all, and its lesson cuts straight to the heart of our spiritual lives. When darkness falls and the world grows quiet, a familiar sound fills the night air. The cricket's song, that rhythmic chirping that some find soothing and others find annoying, carries spiritual significance that Padre Pio wanted every Christian to understand. You might wonder why such an ordinary creature made Padre Pio's sacred list. Crickets aren't beautiful like butterflies. They don't produce anything useful like bees. They don't carry the same historical symbolism as spiders or ladybugs. So why did this mystic saint insist we should never harm them? The answer lies in what the cricket represents: persistent prayer and faithful watchfulness. Think about when crickets sing. They call out in the darkness, hour after hour, never ceasing. Their song continues whether anyone listens or not. They don't wait for applause or acknowledgement. They simply do what God created them to do, filling the night with their voice. Padre Pio saw in this a powerful lesson about prayer. He spent hours in nighttime prayer, often staying awake when the rest of the monastery slept. In those dark hours, he would hear the crickets outside his window. He came to see them as companions in his vigil, fellow creatures giving voice to creation's continuous prayer to its creator. He once remarked that even when we sleep, the cricket continues its song, just as the angels continue their eternal praise before God's throne. For Christians, the cricket reminds us of our call to pray without ceasing. Not that we literally pray every moment, but that our lives should become prayer, a continuous offering to God. The cricket doesn't stop singing when the night grows long or cold. We shouldn't stop praying when our circumstances become difficult or when God seems silent. The cricket's faithfulness through the dark hours mirrors the faithfulness God asks of us. There's another dimension to this that Padre Pio emphasized. Crickets often find their way into our homes. Some people immediately try to eliminate them because the chirping disturbs their sleep. But Padre Pio suggested we see this differently. When a cricket enters your home, he said, consider it a reminder to pray. Let its song call you to mindfulness of God's presence. In ancient Christian tradition, a cricket in the house was actually considered a blessing, a sign that the home would be protected and that prayers offered there would be heard. One of Padre Pio's spiritual sons remembered a night when he couldn't sleep due to a cricket somewhere in his room. Growing frustrated, he searched for it, intending to remove it. He couldn't find the creature, and the chirping continued. The next morning, he complained to Padre Pio about his sleepless night. The saint laughed gently and asked if perhaps the cricket had been trying to teach him something. When the man looked confused, Padre Pio explained that the cricket had given him extra hours of wakefulness. Instead of being frustrated, he could have used that time for prayer and reflection. The man never looked at crickets the same way again. This teaching challenges our comfort-seeking nature. We want quiet when we want it. We want peace on our terms. But God often speaks through interruptions, through things that disrupt our carefully planned lives. The cricket song breaking through our intended silence might be exactly what we need, a call to wake up spiritually, to pray when we'd rather sleep, to stay alert when we'd prefer to check out. Padre Pio also connected the cricket to prophetic voices throughout Scripture. The prophets often felt like lone voices, calling out in spiritual darkness. They spoke God's truth, whether people listened or not. Their message persisted through rejection, persecution, and isolation. The cricket embodies this prophetic spirit, singing its song regardless of reception, faithful to its nature, no matter the circumstances. When we resist the urge to kill a cricket, we honor this spirit of persistent prayer. We acknowledge that God values faithfulness over comfort, that His kingdom grows through those willing to pray and witness consistently, even when results seem invisible. The cricket might be small, its song might seem insignificant, but in God's economy, faithfulness always matters. Consider starting a new practice tonight. When you hear a cricket, instead of feeling annoyed, whisper a prayer. Let its song become your cue to connect with God. Transform what might have been irritation into an opportunity for grace. This is exactly the kind of spiritual alchemy Padre Pio practiced throughout his life, taking ordinary moments and infusing them with sacred meaning. Brothers and sisters, we've journeyed together through Padre Pio's remarkable revelation about 4 animals Christians should never kill. The spider, teaching us patience and the sacred nature of hidden work. The ladybug, reminding us of Our Lady's constant intercession and protection. The bee, modeling community, diligence, and the sweetness born from sacrifice. The cricket, calling us to persistent prayer and faithful watchfulness. But these lessons mean nothing if they remain mere knowledge in our minds. Padre Pio was a man of action, of living faith. He would want us to take these teachings and let them transform how we move through our daily lives. The next time you see a spider weaving its web, pause and reflect on your own spiritual patience. When a ladybug crosses your path, thank Our Lady for her care. If a bee buzzes near you, consider what sweetness you're bringing to your community. And when a cricket sings in the darkness, let it call you to prayer. More than this, these 4 creatures remind us of a fundamental truth Padre Pio lived by. Everything in creation speaks of God. Every creature, no matter how small, carries purpose. Every moment offers opportunity for spiritual growth. We just need eyes to see and hearts willing to learn. If this message has touched your soul today, if you've felt something stir within you as we explored these teachings, write in the comments, "Thank you, Padre Pio, for opening my eyes." Your words of gratitude help this message reach others who need to hear it. Share this with someone you love, someone who might benefit from seeing creation through holier eyes. I also want to invite you to become part of our growing family of faith. If these teachings nourish your spirit, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our messages. Consider clicking the like button, not for our sake, but because each like helps the algorithm share this content with more souls searching for truth. And if you feel called, become a member of our channel. Your support allows us to continue this sacred mission of spreading Padre Pio's wisdom to hearts around the world. We're not just creating content here. We're building a community of believers committed to deepening their faith and honoring God in every aspect of life. Remember what Padre Pio taught through his entire existence. Holiness isn't found only in grand gestures or dramatic conversions. Often, It's discovered in the smallest moments, in the choice to protect rather than destroy, to observe rather than dismiss, to learn rather than ignore. These four creatures you'll encounter again and again throughout your life now carry new meaning. They're no longer just insects or animals. They're teachers, messengers, reminders of God's presence woven throughout creation. As you leave this message today, carry with you this truth. God is speaking constantly, through nature, through circumstances, through the tiniest creatures sharing our world. Our job is to quiet ourselves enough to listen, to humble ourselves enough to learn, and to love enough to protect what He has made. May Padre Pio intercede for you always. May Our Lady wrap you in her protective mantle. And may you find God's voice in the spider's web, the ladybug's flight, the bee's labor, and the cricket's song. Go in peace, and remember, even the smallest creature matters in God's magnificent plan, and so do you.